Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. If you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe for fast baseball news and other baseball content. And also, thank you guys for all the recent support on the channel. It means a lot to me. And just before I get into this video, I just want to say, in yesterday's video, I messed up when I said Yelich had 1 year left on his contract. He has 9 years. I forgot he signed his extension, so my bad. Anyways, getting into today's video, we're going to be predicting the top 5 players who are probably going to get paid next offseason. Starting off with some honorable mentions, we have Carlos Correa on the Houston Astros. He has set his deadline. I covered that in a previous video, but he has set his deadline for a contract extension from the Houston Astros, or else he's going to test free agent waters. And Correa, interesting. I know there's a lot of backlash against him because of the whole cheating scandal. He is good without cheating. He's sort of proved that. He had a couple down years, but he is a good player. And I think he's probably going to get the most money if he goes to Houston because there's always going to be the stigma with the whole cheating thing. I would assume he probably wants somewhere in the 200 millions, maybe even 300s. Maybe he's going to set a very tall price, knowing that he's going to get less. So that's just the first one. Then Francisco Lindor, second on my honorable mentions list. I had these shortstops like Story, Lindor, all those people on the honorable mentions because I didn't want the video to get too repetitive because there are lots of shortstops going into the free agent market, but I'll talk about some of them later on in the video. So Lindor is probably going to get $350 million from the Mets, and I don't see him testing the free agent waters. I see him extending with the Mets, maybe 10 for $350 million. Maybe he tests the free agent waters, but I do think he's going to sign with the Mets when it's all said and done. Going on to Trevor Story, I do think he signs an extension this year, but I don't think it is with the Colorado Rockies. I think he's probably going to be traded at the deadline, probably in a one-sided trade for the other team because Colorado doesn't have the best history with making blockbuster deals, but I do see him possibly being traded to a contender at the deadline and signing an extension there. Maybe he tests the free agent waters. Who knows what the market looks like next year with all these shortstops. You might not get as much money as you want because teams could look somewhere else. Then on this list we have Michael Conforto from the New York Mets, one of the best outfielders going out on the market next year. He is at least going to want $150 million. Power bat, I could see him going to the AL League with the DH, so that's why he's on this list. And then Clayton Kershaw, if he does play, I don't see him playing anywhere else except for LA, so that's why he's on the honorable mentions. If LA doesn't bring him back, I don't know what happens to Kershaw. I think they will bring him back, just like they brought Justin Turner back, but they have some other pieces to bring back, and I cover that later on in this video. Going on to the first person that we're going to talk about, we have Bichette from the Toronto Blue Jays. So just like Tatis a couple weeks ago, he signed a giant extension. That's Tatis. He signed a giant extension with the Padres, and I think Bichette, another young hitter. Obviously, he's not as good as Tatis. Tatis is better defensively and has a little bit more pop. Tatis is more complete than Bichette, but if Bichette can take another step this year and a big step and put up some big offensive numbers, again, Bichette's not going to hit you 40 home runs. He's going to hit you 30 at most, maybe. He's going to drive in near 100 runs. He can steal some bases. He has good contact skills. His defensive skills need to get a little bit better, but I do think if he signs a long-term deal that it will be in the 200 millions, maybe even 300 million, but that is stretching it a bit because the Blue Jays don't like to spend that much money on players. They don't like to be locked into big contracts, but I do see them maybe giving all this money to Bichette because they do want him to become the face of the franchise. And another thing I noticed is Bichette's dad is also very involved in the organization. I would assume he would probably be involved in those talks a lot. He probably doesn't want his son to be taken advantage of as far as the contract goes. There was a lot of people saying that Tatis might be considered underpaid in a couple years, considering that Tatis's AAV is only 24 million. So they might think that Bichette is undervalued in a couple years, so maybe they wait a couple years, but the contract extension has been brought up to Bichette. Going on to Cody Bellinger, he is another player on this top 5 list. He becomes a free agent next year. He's one of the better outfielders, like top 10 outfielders in the MLB right now. He is very good defensively as a center fielder, prime position. He has great power, and His contact could always get a little bit better, but he is the real deal. He is an all-around good player. He even has some decent speed. So just a great player. I do expect him to get paid. I would probably think somewhere around 250 million on a long-term deal. I don't see him going short-term. He's in the prime of his career. This is the time to go out and get a big contract extension. So I do see him getting paid in the hundreds of millions. Going on to the next player, we have Aaron Judge. Even though Judge does not become a free agent next year, he has 2 years left before he hits free agency, and I'm just putting him on this list because the Yankees might want to extend him long term so he doesn't even have to test the free agent waters. I think it comes down to whether Judge has a good couple seasons or if he's injured. If he's injured, I think he signs with the Yankees long term. If he has a really good year, like I'm talking 50 home runs, over 100 RBIs, I definitely think he tests the free agent market just to see what other offers are out there. So I think it comes down to how he plays, and either way, I mean, if he's injured and doesn't perform as well, I see him probably being near the 200 million mark. But again, if he puts up 250 home run seasons this year and next, I could see Judge in the $300 million range. Again, very good defender, very good power hitter. So it's interesting to see where he could land. Cory Seager is also on this list, a shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Lots of people have been saying he's overrated. He's a very good hitter. His defense isn't on the same level as Lindor and some other players, but he is a very good player. Again, he's more of an offensive player instead of a defensive player. He can be an X factor. He was the World Series MVP. I do see him taking $300 million at least in the free agent market if he has another MVP type season. It all comes down to where everybody else lands. If Lindor and Story are asking for a lot of money or asking for less than him, I feel like some other teams are going to go with those options. Obviously, I feel like Seager is probably going to wait until the end of the offseason. So I don't really know. I do see him probably going back to the Dodgers. He was asked if he would extend with the Dodgers, and he didn't want to answer that question in a press conference a couple of days ago. So it's going to be interesting to see where Seager lands. Probably going to be in the $300 million range. Again, if Lindor, Story, and Correa sign extensions with the teams that they're on now, then there's going to be less competition for him. Or no, there's going to be more competition for him in the free agent market, and there's going to be a bidding war, but I do see him going back to the Dodgers in the end. And also, Kyle Seager, Cory Seager's brother, also is most likely going to be a free agent next year after what the Seattle Mariners president said about his contract option. They're most likely going to decline it. So interesting to see if both of the brothers hit free agency at the same time. Maybe they go to the same team. And then at number 1, we have Juan Soto. He is one of the best hitters in the league, and he is very young. Still a long time until free agency. I don't think he's going to wait until then. I think he's going to pull a Tatis move and sign long-term with Washington. Now, he is one of the best hitters, and he is only going to get a lot better. He brings in a lot of money for the team. Again, not the best defender. He's not on the same defensive level as Tatis and some other outfielders, but he can be an X factor as a hitter. Could be interesting to see when they get the universal DH eventually. He'll probably be playing when that happens. Maybe he moves to the DH and he becomes even better of a hitter. I do see Soto getting into the terms of Tatis, sort of like, or Trout, with the 13, 14, maybe even 15 years, because he is extremely young, and because he is such a good hitter, I think he gets up to $300, $400 million. Now, it depends on a couple things because, again, that if he gets up to $400 million, that would make him the highest paid player in the MLB, more than Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. Obviously, Betts and Trout are more complete than Soto because of their defensive games, but maybe Washington goes all out and just gives him the $400 million. Would be very interesting to see. Like I said, some other players are more all around better than Soto. I mean, he's one of the best hitters, but he's not one of the best defenders. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Juan Soto. Again, if he goes to DH, he could become even better of a hitter. Just to recap, we have Soto at number 1, Cory Seager at number 2, Aaron Judge at number 3, Cody Bellinger at number 4, Bichette at number 5. Let me know down in the comments who you think is going to sign long term and for big money. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one.